Ryu's heartbreak mingled with horror as he understood the true nature of her choice. In that moment, he realized that he had given his love to someone who saw it as nothing more than a stepping stone to power. Even as his life drained away in that lonely mountain pass, he found himself clinging not to his sorrow but to something deeper, something cold and unyielding, a resolve born from betrayal. Part 2: The Awakening. Ryu's vision faded, and he slipped into darkness. Yet even as his awareness dimmed, he felt something within him crystallize, a burning, ruthless determination. So, he thought, this is death. He waited, expecting perhaps some final judgment, some reckoning for his life. He'd imagined that death might bring him peace, or at least a vision of the life he'd left behind. But instead, there was nothing. No peace, no afterlife, just a vast silence that seemed to stretch endlessly. I thought there'd be more to it, he mused. Maybe seeing my life flash before my eyes, or a path guiding me to some next world. But no, just emptiness and silence. Time passed, or perhaps it didn't. In this void, there was no measure, no light, nothing to grasp onto. But gradually, he began to feel the faintest hint of sensation. It was slight at first, like a gentle pressure, something cool and unyielding pressing down on him. Slowly, he became aware of faint sounds, muffled and distant, as if he were deep underwater. Then he felt a touch, a small, curious warmth brushing against him. The contact stirred his awareness, tugging him toward something tangible. But as he tried to understand, he realized he couldn't move. He was encased, trapped in something hard and rigid. A faint sense of dread bloomed within him. Bit by bit, pieces of his past life crept back into his mind. He remembered Kade, her betrayal, and Daigo's mocking laughter. His heart hardened once more, the memory of their faces feeding his newfound resolve. But he couldn't shake the nagging question. Where was he? Awareness grew, and the truth finally dawned on him, filling him with a bitter, hollow laugh he couldn't voice. He was no longer Ryu the blacksmith, no longer a man filled with love and betrayal. He was cold, immobile, a small, insignificant thing. A rock, he thought with grim amusement. Or maybe a pebble. What the hell? A deep sadness settled over him, but this time it wasn't laced with regret or longing. This time he felt only the hard edges of his resolve. He was alive in some form, and that was enough. Though he cannot even feel, he could think, and that's something at least. No matter how long he sat in this silent, lonely existence, he would remember, and he would find a way to hold on to the strength he'd gained from his suffering. If he could no longer love, he would live only for his resolve, as unyielding as the stone he'd become. Part 3: A World of Strange Creatures. Ryu's consciousness floated in the unending cycle of seasons, bound to his pebble form as spring rains, summer warmth, autumn winds, and winter cold came and went. Year after year, his awareness sharpened, his memories of betrayal solidifying into something hard and unyielding. Trapped in stillness, he grew accustomed to his solitude, his mind settling into a rhythm as steady as the passing of time. Then one day, a presence stirred in his mind, breaking the silence. System initializing, the words pulsed through his awareness, foreign and yet strangely familiar. For the first time since he'd been trapped in this form, Ryu felt a faint flicker of something he thought he'd lost: purpose. Welcome to the path of ascendance. Current form: Pebble, Stage 0, Objective, Cultivate to Evolve. The message radiated with strange energy, illuminating a way forward. Ryu felt his resolve strengthen, even as his new reality sank in. Accumulating resource: Ascendance points. Points needed for next evolution: 10. Current points: 0. The system went on to explain that he would passively accumulate 0.05 ascendance points each day simply by observing the life around him. Each point represented a tiny step toward growth. And though the progress was slow, it was a path. Ryu's resolve hardened as he grasped onto the only chance he had for change: discovering the nature of his world. Seasons continued to cycle, but now Ryu's mind sharpened with each passing day. He turned his awareness to the world around him, carefully observing every animal, plant, and weather change. Gradually, the system revealed more information about his surroundings, as though it were translating the essence of this strange world into terms he could understand. In time, he began to see this world for what it truly was: a realm brimming with magical energy, an essence that permeated everything. Not only did animals and plants seem to gather essence, but even stones and rivers pulsed faintly with it. The system hinted that, over time, even inanimate objects and simple creatures could attain sentience if they gathered enough of this essence. The biology inquiry. With his ascendance points slowly accumulating, the system presented Ryu with an option to classify his nature, attempting to analyze what he had become. Analyzing biological data. Curious, Ryu focused on the analysis, hoping the system would reveal something useful about his form. A hum of energy rippled through his awareness, as if processing data, and after a moment, the result appeared. Biology. Error. Unable to identify biological classification. Current form lacks recorded species data. The error gave Ryu a strange sense of satisfaction. He was beyond classification, uncharted, a unique being in this world. It felt like the first step toward reclaiming his identity, one that wasn't bound by his betrayal or this strange existence. Biology. Error. Biological form is not in database. The message flickered and faded, leaving him with a peculiar feeling of pride. If he couldn't be classified, he was bound by no fixed form or fate. His path was one he would forge himself. Attempting to observe other beings. One day, as he observed a peculiar plant nearby, a bamboo stalk that had grown dense with essence and gained a primitive animal-like sentience, Ryu felt a surge of curiosity. This bamboo creature, moving like an animal but rooted in a plant's nature, seemed to defy the ordinary. He directed his focus toward it, attempting to pull up details about the creature's biology, just as he had tried with his own. However, his attempt to analyze the creature yielded only static and an error from the system. Error, analysis unavailable, insufficient permissions for external observation. Ryu felt a twinge of disappointment. Well, that's kind of a letdown, he muttered internally. Isn't that one of the go-to abilities for other worlds? Being able to see things about what you're observing? After a brief pause, the system's response pulsed through his awareness. Note, observational analysis technique exists as an ability within the system. However, it is currently unavailable in this form. Potential unlock in future, but outcome unknown. The message lingered as Ryu processed the words. So it was possible, just not for him, not yet. He felt a renewed determination stir within him, seeing this limitation as something to overcome. If it could someday be unlocked, then he would simply need to press on until he reached that level. There was no telling what other abilities might lie ahead, waiting for him to grow strong enough to claim them. Using points to unlock progress. With each passing day, Ryu accumulated ascendance points, his connection to the world deepening as he observed life around him. Over time, the system updated to reveal new options for his progression, each one requiring a small investment of points to unlock. Available unlocks: 1. Basic sensory awareness, 20 points. Gain true awareness of nearby heat, motion, or sound sources. 2. Pebble movement, limited, 50 points. Ability to shift minimally in your environment. 3. Essence absorption efficiency, 30 points. Absorb energy at a slightly increased rate, reducing time needed for ascendance points. With only a few points saved, he knew he would need to be patient, to observe, to bide his time. The path was long, but it existed. And Ryu's resolve would be as unyielding as the stone he had become. He would watch, wait, and gather strength until he could break free of his limitations. Though he had no certainty of what he might ultimately become, he felt the stirrings of ambition, of a future where he was no longer trapped or bound to the earth.